Alrighty, I think I have the setup streamlined a little bit better. Got the mic here. I've got a lot of amplification on it, so it should be picking up the time, even if it's a little low. Can't do much about it, unfortunately. I don't have any kind of portable microphone. At least not something that doesn't completely lag out so bad that I don't understand this frickin' internet always dropping out like this either. It's perfectly stable when I'm streaming stuff from the server out here to my room. Anyways, have here is just a bog standard compact. Don't even think I think it's one of the last ones that Compaq made before they got bought by HP. Or I could be wrong. I don't know, honestly. It's got digital audio out, but it's apparently a Windows XP machine. It came apart pretty easy. I have the action cam. See if I can get it to do this without just frickin' falling or something. That could work. Relatively clean inside. No RAM. No video card. It's got PCI slots, 3, and 1 PCI Express slot. I'm probably guessing first gen. We have an IDE hard drive. And we're just going to strip this thing. We've got some cables and some parts in here. Oh, this is nice. A direct from motherboard to hard drive cable, which comes in handy when you're dealing with small form factor PCs. I have a few that these would come in handy to work with. I do like that this is the easy removal bracket system that Compaq had in the mid to early 2000s. Although some absolute dipstick screwed this in on the other side of the case. Seriously? This has obviously been modified. I don't even know how you would go about doing that. Hell. Normally you just lift this up and pull, but this one screwed in. The way this bracket works is it just has little pads that press up against the hard drive. This is strange. Just recently got the proper tool for this job, though. Give me a moment. This will work. No. I do not know how this idiot managed this. He'd screwed in, and there is no way for those screws to go anywhere. Wait. Ah, I'm the idiot. You have to take the front cover off. Well, that came off. That kind of hurt. Interesting. So it only goes in through the front. Oh, it's a Desk Star. Hitachi drive. I like Hitachis. They're really reliable, although this one's a mid-2000s one, so it may not be very best there ever was. But 80 gigabytes, it's not bad capacity for an ATA drive. Parallel ATA disk drive as well. Philips CDR-RW drive. So this isn't even a DVD. This is just a CD burner. It can't even read back DVDs. Although good for a retro build. So it's not period accurate, it's technology accurate. Got 3 expansion cards here, all PCI. Nice bracket system. One screw holds all of the cards. Pretty typical of Compaq in this period. I'm guessing I was right about when this was made, 2005, 2006. It'll have to be at least 2006 because I'm finding stuff with 2006 as a date on them. Might have even been as late as 2007. We'll know once we get at this chip. That'll tell the tale. We have a bog standard 56.6K modem. I have so many of these now that one of these days I'll get around to recreating the early internet or something like that, so people will have a use for those. This is another modem. Must have been shotgunning it. This one I'm not sure. It's a much newer modem, and it's a WIN modem. Obviously, you notice how there's no actual guts to it. This one is a hardware modem, quite a bit older, 1996. I'm guessing this one came with the computer, and this is the one they added because this one was probably garbage. And the last card might be the most useful. Because this is from the time period where they started putting gigabit Ethernet in things. So we might get lucky. Might be jammed in there, and there's really no good place to grab on this thing. Oh, it's got a chip holder on it. I'm guessing this is probably a 10100. That was really in there. Linksys, yep, 10100. I could tell without even seeing it because I felt the chip holder. I forget what they're called. LNE 100TX. Oh, this is a Windows 98 compatible card. That might actually be useful. I got one useful expansion card so far. Other than that junk. The hard drive might be useful for a retro build. This power supply, I wouldn't trust it with my worst enemy. I love how they always put these 20-pin connectors in these motherboards that are designed for 24-pin. It works fine, but it's not ideal. Definitely. Pre-AM one, I'm thinking. Maybe it is socket 939 chip. Ooh, that thermal grease is literally still wet. 79-cent paper towels. Cheap ceramic stuff. It's the job done. Can't complain too much because it's what I use, but it never cures. It stays this goopy, slimy, nasty mess for all eternity. Which is a good thing. It helps with thermal conductivity. It's in all the nooks and crannies. It is an AMD Semptron from, wow, 2001. I think this computer is older than I initially predicted it. It's just been upgraded several times. That older modem might have been the original modem. Wow. This might be the oldest Socket 939 chip I have now. Most of the old ones I have are from like 2002, 2003. Jeez. Oh, I'll put this in the bin and I'll be right back. I don't have a Socket 939 bin. This is my only Socket 939 processor. Damn. Had to put it in the assorted processors bin. Well, we have a Socket 939 cooler now. Disgusting. Alright. Oh, it just gets worse. It's just contaminated the rest of the metal now. Oh my god, this stuff is horrible. It's corrosive. What the hell? Crap. That was pristine brushed metal, and now it's just this dull, disgusting mess. It's not getting better. Wait, there it is. It's coming off a little bit. No, oh no, nah. It's actually scored the surface. What the hell? I'm like, I need to go like wash my hands or something. No wonder the shit felt like it was burning. What the? This person used. Seriously. Ugh. I doubt the battery's any good, and this motherboard. I mean, it's got HP all over it, so it's definitely a HP compact. A lot of keen-looking coils and capacitors on the board, and I am short on capacitors right now. Take this case fan, but it's mounted with bolts. I don't like that. The custom media front panel solution's already been removed, it seems. And you don't need to be chewing on that key. Take this cable. Oh, look at the it's neat. That become very useful at some point. So you have a case fan that only goes onto a motherboard header. Well, now you can plug it into Molex without losing your Molex connection. Not bad. I always check these things to see if there's any Molex splitters or anything on them, because a lot of times people upgrade their computers, they'll just stick Molex splitters on stuff rather than upgrading the power supply. It's not the best practice in the world, but it works just fine. Just have to be careful to balance the power on the rails. Of course, it doesn't matter if you only got one rail, like this one. It's all one rail. Good enough on this one. This thing was just taking up space, so I'm glad to be rid of it. I'm sure you can tell I'm not a big fan of compact, especially because I remember what compact was really like back in the day. Absolute garbage. Oh, one other piece, useful piece, I almost missed. I love shields. Seriously, every computer I come across has got empty expansion bays, and they just leave the bays open, which, you know, isn't great for thermals. So there we go, another computer for the scrapper. It always feels good to get rid of the junk. No, it's not the same computer. It's the Pentium 4 version of the same computer. It's got a hyper-threaded Pentium 4, so I'm actually kind of curious. It posts. The hard drives in it are bad. I got it for $3 from a thrift store. The guy knew what he was doing. He turned it on to test it so that he could charge me more money for it. Unfortunately for him, it didn't work. I got it for $3. I don't care if it's broken. Yep, same exact motherboard. Although there's a couple of minor arrangements. It's still a VIA chipset. Can't be exactly identical because, you know, one's an Intel and one's an AMD. But this one is very, very similarly laid out. It has all the same features, the same number of expansion slots. The Northbridge and Southbridge chips are even in the same spot. Same back panel layout. The main power for the CPU comes in at a different point here instead of here. The main power comes in here, and it's a full 24-pin header. Although it's missing 2 pins out of the actual cradle. It's weird. And it seems this one also has PCI Express, SATA power connectors built in. Much more wonky cable management, but that's because the proprietary front panel card reader is still installed in this one and had been removed from the other one. This one also has 2 drives. Oddly enough, one of them is not hooked up, it's just sitting in there. The other one is hooked up. Both IDE. It's 2 hard drives. Once again, one of them is not hooked up, one of them is. The one that is, I know is bad. It's the one that was making the click of death noise when I bought this thing. I've learned my lesson on how this thing opens now, so it won't fall on my foot. Yes. It's quite a bit more dusty. Yeah, it has both front panels on it, so it has quite a bit more gunk going on. Let's take a look at this older hard drive here. Oh, may not be as old as I thought. 160 gig SATA drive. Sounds good. I don't know why this one was not hooked up. Maybe because it's SATA and not IDE, and there's no SATA cables in this case. Interesting. I was not expecting to find a serial ATA drive in here. Have the known bad IDE drive that's just stuffed sideways in an area where a hard drive is not meant to go in this computer. So I'm fighting to get it out right now. And it doesn't come out because... how the heck? That's what I want. This is how. Mac store, why am I not surprised? It's a Diamond Max. These things are notoriously bad. Doesn't sound clicky, but that's because the head is crashed. Hear the platters spinning freely in there. Not a good sound. Not as bad as clack, 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 clack when you do that. You know the drive is definitely dead. Might be able to get some data off of that. It might just need a bit of percussive maintenance. Every once in a while you can spin a drive up, and then if you whack it just right in the center spindle, you can release a mag lock without having to open the drive. Of course, there's increased risk of physical hard drive damage and thus data corruption, but the drive's already dead. What does it matter? If you don't have the $3,000 to go down to drive savers, and you're never going to have the money to go down to drive savers, and the data isn't that important, why not take a shot? Alright, so we have another, looks like CD-only drive. It's not even a burner, just a reader. Toshiba. Wouldn't be surprised if this was the original drive that was in this system. And we have this mystery drive up top. It's not hooked up. Compact DVD rewritable. Ooh. That's quite a bit newer than the rest of these. Yeah, DVD CD combo drive. Nice. I can always use more of these in the IDE form factor. Or IDE compatible, IDE style, whatever. My brain is not functioning today. One IDE ribbon cable, which might be why there was only one hard drive and one thing's hooked up. I might actually keep this motherboard, because it's a Pentium 4 board, and I've always been rather fond. It's got Asus chips on it. It's a good sign, actually. It's 256 megabytes of DDR, so I'm guessing this thing's got a gigabyte of memory in it. Oh, that's 512. A little bit bigger. It'd be nice if there was a couple 1 gig sticks in here. Looks like we've got 1.5 gigs of RAM. Yep. RAM brand I'm unfamiliar with. Always good to get some RAM. See whether it works. Oh, I did it completely off camera like an idiot, but I hooked up and tested the dual core mystery valve machine. It's just a bog standard dual core with a BTO 7800 GT in it. The reason it has the C19 plug is because the 7800 GT draws a fairly significant amount of power, and with the dual core G5 also drawing a fairly significant amount of power, and all the fans in the case, it actually needed the same power supply as the quad core. Go figure. Nothing cats like more than frickin' paper. Give them some paper, it keeps them occupied. I keep this motherboard. At least one bad cap. Yes, pretty standard fan. So I'll be able to recover the case fan off of this one. Go. Another case fan. Bearings are good on it. Needs to be cleaned. Cat is completely distracted by the power of paper. Switch screwdrivers now. Not exactly what I meant. Landed on it. Might have actually been a good thing. I might not have noticed that. Yep. It's bulging now. Isn't that interesting? Ooh, you know what? I think this is a socket 775. Most of these the screw down sockets are 775s. I'm going to do crisscross applesauce on these. They make a popping sound when they're done. That's the threads backing up and going over themselves one time and catching in the notch, basically. That's how you know you're free. I like these old Pentium 4 socket 775 coolers. They're twice as big and beefy as the more rinky modern ones. Now, this thing actually powered up and posted. There's a couple of bad caps here now that I'm looking. I mean, it is a Pentium 4 system. They tend to have a lot of bad caps. This one does not want to come out. Oh, and of course it falls apart on me. The lock ring came off. Yeah, socket. It's unfortunate. I get it back through there, but it's going to be a bit of a pain. It's pretty strong ring there. Yeah, no, I don't have enough strength with these little dinky things. I'll have to get the bigger tool later. This uses the more cakey style of thermal paste that kind of congeals with age. Awful lot of frickin' paper towels tonight. Yeah, I'm not gonna bother with this motherboard. It's got several bad caps on it. 4 at a quick glance. I'm not going to trust any capacitors on this board if there's a bunch of them dead like that. So it's no good for a capacitor salvage. Not from the right time period. Oh, nice. The 2.8 gigahertz. 800 megahertz front side bus. Oh, there was some thermal paste underneath the CPU. That might have had some effect on the operation of this thing. Oh well, this goes in the socket 775 Pentium 4 bin. Interesting tidbit about this one. The CMOS was good, so I'm guessing that this battery still holds a charge, so I'm going to go ahead and salvage that too. Just put it over there with the other salvage batteries. And this is a high pro power supply, no use bothering with. I've already got a really good modular testing power supply, so I wouldn't even need it as a test power supply. Yeah, I'll go ahead and call this one done. This will be headed off to the scrapper with the other one. Sweet. Got more usable parts out of this one. There were no expansion cards in it, yet we still got more usable parts. Go figure. What I don't use goes to a Washington E-Cycle certified recycler. They take what they think they can use. They might try to resell the motherboard. I'm not going to bother with it because I don't really sell my electronics too much. I'm trying to build up a stock of stuff, and you know, it doesn't help when you sell off your stock when you're trying to build a stock. Although once I get to a certain level with certain parts, I do sell them off. Like this is just going to get listed on eBay. I have like 10 of them. I don't need that many. If it was a gigabit, I'd keep it. But a 10100, it's also PCI. This will be really good for somebody's retro PC build. Somebody wants to build a Windows 98 PC but have access to like a shared directory on the network for game files. 10100 is perfect for that. 98 doesn't support gigabit. It does support this. In fact, I think this is a Windows 98 compatible card. It's made in 2000, so I'd imagine there was 98 drivers for it. At the worst, Millennium Edition drivers, which you can make work with a little bit of effort. There we go. Another one bites the dust. This is an HP, much newer system, designed for Windows Vista. It's an Intel Core 2 Duo E6300 according to the front panel. So it's actually a fairly modern system. I wasn't even aware I had this. Just dug it out of the pile, but I need to make space. And yeah, it looks like I've already stripped this mostly. Nice locking on both ends SATA cable. Another high pro power supply. So the power supply. The power supply isn't worth crap. And it's got the proprietary Dell front panel BS as usual. It's obviously a socket 775 because it's a blah. Interestingly enough, this cable was disconnected for some reason, or did I disconnect? I could be just that big of a space cadet. Yeah, I don't know. This cooler's coming off a lot easier. Yep, came right off. It's a pretty beefy cooler for a Core 2 Duo. Yeah, I'm definitely going to keep this motherboard. This is a good looking motherboard. Well, the ones that I can, there's a proprietary connector on this thing that does not want to come off. There we go. Got it. Another IDE cable. I've heard some people say you can never have too many IDE cables. That applied years ago, but not so much anymore. What the heck? Would you just... knock everything over. Oh. Well, that's unfortunate. Another busted cooler. Might be able to fix that with some super glue, but it'll be compromised forever, so probably just take the brick out of it. Maybe the fan off of it. For comparison, this is the Pentium 4 cooler. Look at this gnarly ass beast. And this one. So they look roughly the same size, but if you look at them side to side, there's significantly more metal on this one, although there's about as much surface area on this one. It's interesting. These things are designed to absorb a fair amount of heat. A 2.8 gigahertz Pentium 4 it cooked. Literally cook your breakfast on it. Alright, here we go. Original CPU, or has this been upgraded? Exactly what it says on the tin. It's the 6300, 1.86 gigahertz. It's kind of a slow boy. But doesn't mean it's not useful. I'm 05, so it's one of the later ones. added to my Core 2 Duo pile. We've got another good case fan here. Noises, it's the cat. Alrighty, another good case fan. This one's a lot cleaner. Ooh, Foxconn brand. Bearings are a little worn. Probably just need some grease. Spray it with some WD-40, it should be fine. Of course, I've got a phone call I must take.